Jimi Hendrix or Vinnie Vincent? Who had a greater impact on rock? What's going on, everyone? You're watching Sight Sounds Flavors on YouTube, sightsoundsflavors.com. If at any point in time during this amazing video you like it, please smash that like button. Also, please be sure to subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, or press the button down below. It really helps the channel as we can get to more people. And please leave a comment. So, good question here from Noah in Perth, Australia. He wanted to know, Noah's a guy's name, right? Noah? I think that's a guy's name. He wanted to know who made a stronger impact on rock music, 60s guitar player Jimi Hendrix or 80s rock god Vinnie Vincent. And so I think it's an interesting question because guitar, I would say, is probably the rock dominant instrument. Of course, you got the drums and the bass and the keyboards, but I would say that guitar, that mean guitar, that Dimebag Darrell guitar is, emblematic, when it comes to rock music, So it's one of those things where, the guitar, I would say, is huge. And I would say that if you're a master, guitar wizard, an innovator, a trendsetter, that you would have, a right to claim, being the most influential guitar player ever. And a lot of times, from a lot of the older folks, in that 60s to 95 range, we hear that Jimmy was it, because they were back there at Woodstock, they saw Jimmy up there, playing with a matchbox, playing with a guitar the wrong way, because it was switched over, but it was like, there's a guy played a righty guitar as a lefty or something like that. And it's pretty wild, you know what I mean? So this guy was very, very talented, great songs, and just a really good guy, you know what I mean? Back in the 1960s, early 1970s, and we're talking a century ago, and so he was definitely up there, he was, he was there, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that he knew Mozart or anything like that. I mean, he's not quite that old, but he's, we're talking last century. And then, of course, you have Vinnie Vincent, right? Who was also last century, but so much closer to the new century that we would consider him, a Gen Xer, a millennial type person, and he put together, well, before we talk about the invasion, this is a guy that played with legendary rocker, Dan Hartman. He played with Felix Cavaliere from the Rascals. I mean, this guy already had, he was working on the Happy Days set, who has not watched Happy Days, and he was doing real well for himself, but, obviously, he had a wife and a child, and so he wanted to do better. When Kiss called him, he started writing with them, and there was magic, instant magic, on the Creatures there. And then he became a full-fledged member, and then he couldn't stay because they were paying him so little, that he had to leave, and those guys were, going nuts because what are they going to do? But Vinny put together the Invasion, hottest band in 1986. No band was hotter than the Invasion in 1986. And then, he broke that band up so he could go work solo again. And, he signed a big deal with Enigma and had the Euphoria record ready to come out. And unfortunately, they went bankrupt. So it just never happened. So you've got these two guys that basically dominated their eras, the 60s and early 70s. And then Vinny, the 80s, 90s, and beyond. So which guitar player really had a stronger contribution to rock? I don't know. I'm going to leave it to you to leave in the comments. I would have to say Vinnie Vincent. I think you'd have to be some kind of a moron to suggest otherwise. But you're free to have your opinion.